Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're looking at Meta Platforms, ticker symbol META. So this idea actually came from a newsletter I write. So I read a free newsletter each day before the market opens on a different company that's been in the news that day. You can sign up on the Investors Grow website. Again, it's free if you'd like to get access to that. It's over on investorsgrow.com. This, by the way, this entire analysis is done on the Investors Grow website. That being said, let's jump into Meta. So Meta just reported revenue growth of 28% and ad impressions were up 14%, and the average price per ad was up 12%. Yet the stock fell by about 9% right after they reported earnings. So today, we're going to look at what Meta does, where management is taking it, and ultimately why investors hated this quarter, and whether the long-term story is getting stronger or more dangerous. At its core, Meta is still an advertising company. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Threads all bring people and businesses into one ecosystems. Then they have their algorithm, or what they call the recommendation system, that decides what content and what advertisements people are most likely to care about, and advertisers bid for those people's attention. In 2025, their family of apps produced about $199 billion of revenue. $102 billion of that turned into operating profit. Meanwhile, what they call Reality Labs produced $2.2 billion in revenue and lost $19.2 billion. So Meta is a fantastic ad company that funds very expensive bets. Those bets now extend far beyond the metaverse. So management has laid out 3 different AI goals. 1, improve the existing apps and ads, build personal AI agents, and sell AI services to businesses through different software interfaces, business agents, and possibly even computing capacity. I apologize. Meta also wants to, they want AI glasses to become a new interface for those AI agents. More than 1 million businesses have already begun using Meta business agents each week. But those revenue lines are still really early. So the logic actually makes sense. The question is, will returns arrive before spending becomes, let's say, a permanent burden? Now, this brings us to Q2 2026. And again, we're going to look at charts, all from the Investors Grow website. So revenue reached $60.88 billion, up 28%. And Meta came out and said they estimated that 3.6 billion different people used one of their apps each day. Now, operating income dropped. Operating profit margins also dropped. That's what percentage of revenue. It's because revenue up and operating income went down, profit margins dropped. We look at earnings per share. That came in fairly short of what we were expecting from what analysts were expecting from an earnings per share perspective. Capital expenditures went way up. We'll come back to this. And free cash flow, because capital expenditures went up so much, free cash flow was very, very low relative to their own history. Now, again, you can look at any of their history and see it has been volatile over time, but broadly speaking, they've done a very good job of generating cash. This is crucially important when we want to value a company using something like discounted free cash flow. But again, we'll come back to this in a second, because the key here is that this stock was not punished because their advertising revenue broke. It was punished because almost all of the operating cash was reinvested. Q2 included $2.4 billion of legal charges, and I believe it was 1.2, maybe 1.18, right around 1.2 billion in severance costs. That says a lot. And if it wasn't for those, let's say, infrequent items, well, Meta said that their operating income would have grown 8% without them. So headline earnings looked worse than the underlying business actually showed. When we dive into the numbers actually looked better if it wasn't for some of these crazy things that were happening. But that doesn't, just because those one-off items happen, that doesn't explain the crazy jump in infrastructure, cloud, talent, AI costs. Now, Meta also raised the low end of their 2026 capital spending guidance to $130 billion. Just to put that in perspective, let me switch this CapEx chart over to an annual chart. And now they're talking about 2026 is going to be $130 billion. Clearly, this is one of the big things that our investors are worried about. By the way, this is a stock that I personally own. So I'm going to be half of this analysis is me trying to figure out what I want to do with the shares that I have. So on the bullish side, Meta has something that almost nobody else has: distribution to 3.6 billion daily people and proven ad auction. AI is already improving recommendations, targeting, creative tools, advertiser results. When you think about something like WhatsApp or Threads, business agent subscriptions, and even their AI glasses offer several new revenue paths that could pan out. Now, Meta also ended the quarter with about $90 billion in cash and equivalents. So it's not that this company is running out of the money. It's not that they're running out of money. The bull case today is that today's spending creates a stronger, more diversified business in the future, if we believe that's the way it's going to play out. The bearish case is that Meta is changing the economics before really proving that the payoff is real. The accounting cost, this is one thing that I think is important to remember. So the accounting cost of today's data centers ultimately is depreciation. So when we think about this, well, in their quarterly filing, they disclosed about $279 billion of leases not yet started as of June 30th. Another 68 billion signed in July, and 349 billion of non-cancelable commitments. Now, ultimately, so they're taking all of these leases and all of these assets, and they're putting all this money in. Well, they're going to depreciate. So if they buy all these assets, let's say they go out and spend $100 billion on an asset, that asset is going to be depreciated over, let's say, the next 10 years. Well, that's $10 billion a year that is going to hit the income statement, is going to reduce profit. And because some of these commitments that they've made they can't cancel, this whole thing is huge, and they can't easily turn this around. They can't change direction, kind of like what they did with the metaverse. They spent some money in metaverse and that whole thing, and it didn't quite pan out, but they were generating so much money in other places, didn't cost them too much, not relative to what this is costing. Okay, now I actually want to go back to profit margins before we jump over and look at the fair value. So jumping over and look at net income profit margins. Well, we can see that net income profit margins, this is a quarterly chart going back the past decade, and you can see that over the past couple of years, it's been in the high 30s, low 40% range. By the way, we're ignoring that one massive drop there because that actually happened. There was a one-off tax hit, big cost there, so it pushed down profit margins huge. But we're going to ignore that one for now. But in the most recent quarter, net income profit margins dropped down to about 25%. And I think that this is the real concern that has a lot of investors wondering, what is this company going to look like in the future? Now, I would point out that multiple times, even over the past decade, they have seen a dip where they've been experimenting with new things, and they've done a good job historically of recovering profit margins. But the capital spending that they're doing right now is a much larger test because, again, a lot of these expenses that they're putting in place right now, I'm not sure if many investors are considering the lag effect that there's going to have on this. Isn't a one-off cost. It might be a one-off from a cash flow perspective, but the cost is going to hit their income statement for a while. So net income profit margins are likely to feel the pressure for a while. Free cash flow is where the story really starts to change. So a couple of years ago, it reached about $54 billion in 2024. And then it fell to about 40 something, low 40s. And we can see that with analyst estimates here, analysts have it going negative this year. And they have it going way negative next year. And then they have it beginning to ramp up. So even though revenue is growing fairly quickly, the cash left after all these investments that they're making is moving in the wrong direction. And by the way, Meta also repurchased no shares for the first half of 2026, which is a sharp change from prior years. Okay, so now let's jump over and look at the fair value. Now, the key thing for us to remember is that Meta's core business is not falling apart. The advertising numbers are excellent. The question is whether this AI build-out that Meta is doing creates enough future cash flow to justify the much larger asset base and larger fixed commitments, because they're making, again, a ton of them. We can't value Meta from this quarter alone. That's why I try to stick with annual charts. Ultimately, we need to judge how low will free cash flow really go over the next few years, and then how high will it ramp out over the years after that. So with that being said, when we're looking at the fair value of Meta, using just these analyst estimates. I'm just going to stop at 5 years, and then we're going to assume 2.5% growth after that in perpetuity. Well, with that, we end up with a fair value near about $338 per share, significantly lower than the current price. Now, if we were to jump back to the free cash flow chart, and what if we didn't want to go out just to 5 years? Maybe we think that's too conservative, because in that scenario, free cash flow is ramping up quickly, and then the growth essentially stops and just kind of moves along with inflation. So let's say we were to double this time period, and instead of going out 5 years, we go 10 years. So now the light blue bars are computer estimates. So I picked a starting growth rate of 15%. So it'll grow at 15%, and then the growth rate gradually tapers off year by year until it gets to our perpetual growth rate, which, like I said, is 2.5%. So the chart ends up looking more like this. And with that adjustment, we jump back and look at our chart here. Well, now the stock is valued at about $255 per share. Better than what it was, with, let's say, more reasonable expectations, but still fairly overvalued. So all signs are pointing that this stock is a bit overvalued right now. And I think that one of the things about a lot of these companies is a lot of these super large companies that have tons of money. One, from an investor standpoint, I don't mind sitting and holding companies like this because they have so much cash and they can afford to go down this road for a while. I am hoping, with Wall Street starting to dislike all of the spending, I'm hoping that some of these companies rein this in a bit. But it does look like AI is going to be a major part of what everybody's doing in the future. So these companies getting a piece of that makes sense from an investment standpoint. But for me, I plan on just sitting and holding my shares. I do not want to buy more shares at this price because, again, it looks fairly overvalued. And when we look at the chart over the past year, again, the chart is down a bit, and it probably deserves it. It got so run up leading up to this point. The chart, when I switch this over to a longer-term chart here, you can see it got way run up, and then, it's kind of tapered off a bit since then. It was probably overvalued before. It's a bit overvalued right now. So for me, I plan on just sitting and waiting to see how this thing plays out. But it is interesting to watch. The more dangerous companies that I'm more afraid of are smaller companies that can't afford this type of spending. Right now, all the money that these guys are spending, yes, they're probably going too far with it, in my opinion, but at least they have the money to go too far with it. The smaller companies that don't have the money, that are borrowing it or issuing shares to get the money, I think that's far more dangerous. So, with all that being said, if you want to sign up to get access to the Investors Grow website, we try to make it quick and easy to value companies and analyze companies, things like that. I'll leave a link right here, link in the description below. And if you want to sign up to get access to that free newsletter, again, it's over on investorsgrow.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.